We've talked at length about continuation betting, nut advantage, and aggressing on the flop. But what about when our opponent is the one playing aggressively? Playing the flop passively often leads to awkward turn and river spots, but sometimes it's unavoidable. We have to play many hands passively if we're the pre-flop caller. We can't be a maniac who leads every flop and raises every bet. That would be unbalanced and easy to play against. That said, let's focus on minimizing passive play. In general, we want to recapture the betting lead ourselves by having raises or check raises in our arsenal. This is difficult on certain boards, but if we construct our ranges appropriately, we won't be forced to check and call so often later in the hand. Note that in this particular spot, we shouldn't be facing a lot of betting from our opponent anyway, since this flop favors us. Instead, we're going to check raise most often when we do face a lot of betting and possess strong enough hands. Look for where our range is generally weak, but still uncapped. In other words, we have a lot of weak hands, but also some strong ones. A board like King 8-6 is a good example, depending on the scenario. We'll have a lot of weak hands, such as 3-4 suited, which we'll have to fold to a flop bet, but we'll also have some sets and two-pair combinations. This gives us the ability to raise slightly more aggressively because we'd also raise our strong hands. Our raising ranges should contain a variety of hands, so that we can retain strong hands on every turn and river. Certain players only check raise or raise flops with their strongest hands and their best draws, which causes them problems. When the board improves their draws, they have no bluffs, or where the draws miss, they possess too many bluffs. Finding more spots to raise and check raise flops is a common struggle. Many players are uncomfortable taking aggressive lines and feel more secure in passive play. However, passive play results in more uncomfortable later street scenarios, so while we shouldn't stop calling flops altogether, we should take back the betting lead as often as possible. We'll have to be much more cautious if our opponent bets large, or if we have fewer nut hands. It's much more difficult to respond to bets and raises than checks and calls. Aggression induces mistakes from your opponents and capitalizes on weak, passive players. However, aggression isn't without weakness. As you progress, make sure you're using it with purpose and conviction.